in the first time we've seen them attack them, and there's Francis! Well, that's what I wanted to see Robertson do!
Robertson getting his shot in, and a goal! Robertson!
Hello, welcome to this opposition preview as Forest prepare to face off with Danish opposition in Midtjylland. I am delighted to be joined by Ryan Svale. I think I got that right, Ryan. I think
Yeah,
I was good with that Danish pronunciation.
Svale in Danish, but it's okay.
Yes, so Forest take on Midtjylland for the first time at City Ground in 29 years since that defeat to Bayern Munich 5-1. I'm sure quite a few of our listeners were there in 1996. I definitely wasn't. I was only 4 years old at the time. But Ryan, thank you very much for joining us. How are you, first of all?
I'm pretty good. Midtjylland played last night and they won. So it's a good day. It's a good weather. And we are looking forward to once again trying to compare ourselves to a Premier League team. So, yeah.
A bit unusual for yourselves to be playing Randers on a Monday night, I suppose.
Yeah.
Did the Super League not help you out with there by with you having a game on Thursday?
No. Actually, both the coach from FC Copenhagen, Jakob Næstrup, and we changed coach recently, but our former coach and now our new coach is actually saying that they are a little bit confused about how the schedule is because they're not helping us. Some leagues like Belgium or Holland are doing, if they have teams who are playing in the Europe, especially in the qualification, if they have team who wants to go to Europe in the qualification, they have they have 3 weekends and non-matches. But it's pretty weird that we play on Monday, especially because we are facing FC Copenhagen this Sunday in the biggest game of the season because we are title contenders, and they are playing Karabakh Wednesday in the Champions League, and of course their travel are longer than us. But we were a bit confused on playing on Monday. But yeah, when you are a team who wants to challenge for the title every season and wants to play Europe, it's the conditions. So we're not yamming about it, but of course we were wondering why we played Monday when we could have played Sunday. But that's how it is.
Fair enough. That is very strange, but no, it's we're all congested. But just for our viewers and listeners, Ryan, tell us a little bit about the history of the club, because if people have delved into Midtjylland a little bit from the surface, people will notice that the year 1999 is on your crest. So you're not a very old club, but I've dived in a little bit, and it's obviously 2 teams that have come together from where you're based in Denmark and have formed an alliance despite being rivals previous. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm not. I'm from 1993, so I was only like 5 years old when they got created. So the back history I don't know so much about. But yeah, you're right. The 2 clubs are from Herning and Ikast, which is in the central of Jutland. Therefore, the name FC Midtjylland, which means center of Jutland in Danish. They were rivals, but they had some. When we are from, we like to think wider and think we can beat up with Copenhagen and think we are really, really smart. So they thought if we need a challenge for Copenhagen and for Brøndby, we can do it here in the middle of nowhere, but we need a competitive team, not 2 rivals who are not as competitive. So they gathered around, made a team, and since 1999, we have been really good, but in the past 10 years, we have been really, really good. We won our first major trophy, first league title in 2015. Since then, we have won 4 Danish championships and 2 cup ties, and we have been into the Champions League group stage in 2020. And since we only missed 1 Europa League since 2020. Otherwise, we are pretty competitive in the Europa League as well. We like to say we are the biggest club in Denmark, but of course, history tells something else. Brøndby and Copenhagen are still, based on history, the 2 biggest club in Denmark. But I think in recent years we have been the number 2, the number 2, and we also like to say we are number 1 because I think we are equal to Copenhagen in many ways. Copenhagen can still offer a little bit more money, and of course they come from a big city in Denmark, so players would like to join them. but we also know we can get some big players. Just look at our new midfielder Philip Billing.
We know a lot about him.
who some say he'd choose us over Copenhagen, but I don't know if Copenhagen was really into the race for him. But he chose us because we can give him a good salary, not a Premier League salary, but we can give him a good salary. And he's from Jutland as well, and he can live in Aarhus. If anyone know Denmark, Aarhus is the biggest place in Jutland, and it's a really cozy city and a really nice city. Not Copenhagen, but really, really nice. So we are a big club in Denmark now. It took us some years, but and actually this shirt I'm sitting in is our 25 years of anniversary shirts. We played it in the last season to celebrate our history. It's like a new version of our very first shirts in the club. So despite some people say we don't have history, we would like to say that in the past 10 years, we made ourselves a history. We made ourselves one of the biggest clubs in Denmark in 10 years. And all that because we actually got bought by the Brentford owner, Matthew Benham, in 2014, who brought the club. We were close on bankruptcy, but he bought the club and brought in his view of all the way Brentford do it with the expected goals and how they find players who are good for their team. He did the same for us and changed the club. And now we got a new owner, the richest guy in Denmark, Anders Holt Poulsen, who has a bestseller. If you know that, I don't know. He has some closets like bestseller like Jack and Jones and stuff. But he's the richest guy in Denmark. So yeah, we have money, and we are a club who actually are run pretty much by ourselves. But of course, if he wants to do something about it, he can. But yeah. So we are good based on challenging Copenhagen for the title every year. But of course, Copenhagen, in my opinion, is still just a little bit bigger and can offer more. But yeah,
that's clearly something that hurts you deep down. I can see it in your eyes, Ryan. I don't want to admit that. I mean, I looked through the history of Midtjylland because I've always known them to be a European sort of competing side. It's only been 9 seasons in your 26-year history that you've not played in Europe, which is pretty incredible. I almost compared to a little bit like the Norwegian side in Bodo Glimt, because they're very similar, had a similar story where they've not won anything for a while, and then you kind of follow them.
I think Bodo does it because they play on it's not real grass, but here in Scandinavia, our weather condition is pretty awful, especially during the winter. So some clubs in Denmark, but I would say in Sweden and Norway, because their winter season is more tough than us, but they play on I don't know, plastic. They play on plastic, and I think that's why Bodo is having such great success, because it's tough for I don't know if it's tough for British teams, but I predict that especially from Italy and Spain, it's tough to play on plastic because they haven't tried it before. But we have tried it a couple of times in Denmark. But yeah, Bodo is kind of an inspiration to us in Midtjylland, also because I would say that on paper they are not bigger than us, but the results speaks for itself. But they have this major factor in their home soil, which is plastic. But of course, we also have something. If you came to Denmark, that would surprise you. But we're playing at your place, so yeah.
Yeah, the Midtjylland players will be happy that it's grass, so and a good pitch at the City Ground, very big. It's biggest pitch in the Premier League actually, so they'll get probably maybe some time on the ball, I guess. But just talk us about the experience of playing in these European competitions, Ryan, because you've played in every single one. To some extent, you've played Champions League, you've played Europa League, you've played Conference League, and you've had some massive times. You beat Man United back in the mid 2010s, if I remember correctly. I know you've played Liverpool, you've played Celtic, Rangers, so you've played a lot of big teams. How has that experience helped the club, and how was it experienced as a supporter?
Yeah, you're right. I think still our greatest one fixture result is beating Man United in 2016. I was there at our home soil. It wasn't the best Manchester United team, but but it was actually the birth of Marcus Rashford, as I remember. There was his way into the first team, but we beat them 2-1, and it's still one of the biggest results in the club's history, despite we losing 5-1 at Old Trafford. But we also beat Manchester City in 2008. We beat them 1-0 at the City of Manchester Stadium. But then, unfortunately, we scored an own goal in the 90 minutes, which took it to extra time, and they won on penalties. And 3 days after, they were bought by their owners and brought Robinho. So actually, you could say that Midtjylland has some part in the Manchester City history in that way.
Yeah.
But we have had some. Our first European game was, I believe, in 2001 against the Northern Ireland side in Glentoran. And we beat them, and then we got into the playoff against Sporting Lisbon, but we lost. And then we struggled a lot to make it through to the league phase or to the group stage. But in 2015 was the first time we entered the Europa League group stage after we won the first Danish championship in 2015. Then we had some years after that struggling again to come into the group stage, but in 2020 we qualified for the Champions League group stage, and as we said, we faced Liverpool, lost at Anfield, but 1-1 at home, and unfortunately it was during the Corona times, so there was no people at the stadiums. So me and all of my fellow fans are pretty devastated that we actually did never have experienced Champions League football on our home stadium because it was Corona. So when we won the championship last summer in 2024, and we went to the playoff against Slovan Bratislava and thought, now it's time. Now we go to the Champions League again. But we couldn't make it the last 10 minutes. We had a 2-1 lead, but blew it in the last 10 minutes and lost 3-2. So we had to settle with the Europa League. But we are pretty good. We're becoming a pretty, I would say, European side. We are used to play in Europe. We have, especially when we play against a bigger team, I would say it's very rare that we lose 3-4-5-0. Sometimes we do, but that's because we made some mistakes. But in the recent years, I would say we have been a pretty good European side, and we are tough from teams who underestimated us. Look at Lazio, who came in, I think it was 2022. They underestimated us, and we won 5-1 at our home soil. And Lazio also lost against Bodø. So I think that some clubs can underestimate Danish teams, and if you do that, we will win. I don't think that you guys at Nottingham would underestimate us because I think you've done your homework. But I would say that we are a pretty good European side, and actually when we have a hard time in Europe, it's against teams where we are the favorites or when we are equal. Like Slovan Bratislava, we were major favorites, and everybody at the club were expecting that we made it into the Champions League, but somehow we boiled it. So, yeah.
We know that feeling at Forest with our league campaign last season, where we needed arguably a couple of points to get into the Champions League, and we threw that away with the last couple of games of the season, especially playing at home. And this season's not been the best start for us. We've had a change of manager. We've not won since that change of manager. We've scoring goals or creating chances and not finishing teams. But we drew our opening game with Real Betis 1-1, and arguably should have been 3-4-5-1 up at half time.
I saw the game. Yeah.
But
you were quite good.
Obviously Midtjylland beat Sturm Graz 2-0.
Yeah.
How did that game go? Was that quite straightforward for yourselves?
I think that when we play at home, we are usually the best team. Of course, when last year Frankfurt came and visited us, and you could see that they were a better team than us, but the match was pretty equal. Here against Sturm Graz, I would say we are pretty equal at a level. Also, if you compare Transfermarkt ratings and the squad size and stuff, we were pretty equal. And I think it was an equal match, but Midtjylland were the better team, and we won 2-0 on what we are the best in Denmark at, set pieces and throw-ins. So that got us the goals. We scored directly from a corner kick, actually. Credits to the Danish goalkeeper from Sturm Græs, Oliver Christensen, who maybe should have done more with that ball, but it was a direct score from corner, and then we had the free kick just a little bit outside of the box, and we headed it in. Also, again, if I were Sturm Græs supporter, I would say the goalkeeper should have done more, but yeah, a Midtjylland classic. Let's say that winning 2-0 on set pieces.
Yeah, you said you watched the Forest Betis game. What did you make of Nottingham Forest that day?
Let's say that in Denmark we are not. Our league is not the biggest and the best, so many Danish football fans also watch a lot of Premier League, and so do I. Actually, the Danish Superliga doesn't play on Saturdays because the competition of watching the Premier League is too big. So therefore, we only play on Sundays or Mondays or Fridays, because people prefer watching their Premier League side over Danish Superliga side.
Wow.
Yeah, because the way the Premier League is expanded or is like talked about in Denmark is higher. So I think that most Danish people, have a very good idea of what Nottingham Forest is and what Premier League is. I watched it because I was scouting and seeing how does Forest play. I know that you had Arns Postecoglou, who was the Tottenham coach last year, and I think especially in the first half, maybe from after the last 30 minutes of the first half, I chatted with my fellow podcasters from our podcast and saying, if Nottingham plays at that level against us, it will be very, very difficult for us, because I thought you were very, very good in those 30 minutes in the first half. But second half you were struggling a little bit, and Betis came better into the match.
Yeah, no,
I don't know if that's how you see it as well, but I was very surprised at the level you played in that 30 minutes.
Yeah, we as our fan base, we were just more annoyed that we didn't put the game to bed. Like, Betis was so clinging on for dear life, we just couldn't finish him, and that's been the story since Ange Postecoglou's come in. To be fair, it's just not finishing our chances, unfortunately. So we have to take them on Thursday night against yourselves, because, like you say, you can be a dangerous team the longer you stay in games as well. And if we underestimate you, then we're going to get punished. But Forest fans will especially know Philip Billing because of his time at Huddersfield and Bournemouth, and he always likes to score wonder goals against us, Ryan. So hopefully it's not a case on Thursday. But are there any other players that Forest fans should be aware of that we don't know about? Because I think I can speak honestly, we don't know much about your football club and your players.
No, of course, Philip Billing, he's still quite new to the team, but you can clearly see his level. You can clearly see that's a player who has played 150 games in the Premier League. He's not like he make an impact like scoring goals or assists, but you can just clearly see that he has a lot of he filled out the field, if you can say it. Sorry, my English is not the best, but you can see that his appearances in the pitch is just like he owns it. He's a massive guy, both height and physically. But I would say our best player before the transfer window was our striker Francolino. He's 20 years old. He came from Benfica for free. Benfica wasn't really delighted that we got him for free, but somehow we got him. Don't ask me how we got it, because he's way too good to play for us, but we got him for free. And actually our vice sporting director said to our CEO that if you get this guy and he scored a lot of goals, that every time he scores you have to transfer me money for each goal he scores. And now he scores a lot of goals, so the CEO said now it only counts in Europe because he's the top scorer in the Danish Super League with 8 goals. But there was a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation about his future during the transfer window. He was arguably our most profile player in the transfer market, and Premier League clubs like Everton was linked with him. I also think that Bayern Munich was linked with him after the saga with Nicolas Jackson, where he was when he was on his way to Munich, but then suddenly wasn't. Then there was a rumor in Denmark that Bayern München were interested in him. Also some Spanish club, but Midtjylland want a high price for him, a price that maybe only some Premier League clubs can afford, and some of the bigger clubs in Germany or Spain. So he's our best player, but he hasn't. He was the guy who took the corner in on Thursday or Wednesday against Graz, but the goal was credited to the goalkeeper as an own goal. So he hasn't scored after the transfer window closed. So people are afraid that he's a little bit troubled about that. He wanted to go, but didn't. But from what I hear from the club, there is no problem with him. It's just that maybe the thing is not going as well from him right now as before. But of course, he's a guy who already, I think, maybe in January will not play for Midtjylland. I hope so, but I could see him go. Actually, I could see him as a striker for your club. He's really, really good. He's a, I don't know what you would call it in English, but he as a striker, I know a job for the striker is to score goals, but he's incredibly good at scoring goals. Like he can just score goals out of nowhere, and right. I think that's a gift that only a few strikers have. I think that maybe Erling Haaland has it in the Premier League. Like he can just score goals out of nowhere. The same with Francolino, although Haaland is, of course, a much bigger player, much bigger star, but it's like that. He can just score goals out of nowhere, and you don't know how he does it. Then I will also say that he has been injured, but he was in the squad yesterday, but didn't make it into the pitch. And actually, I don't know which game Midtjylland would. They will always say that the next game is the most important, but due to the fact that we face Copenhagen Sunday, and the Super League is still the most important for us because we want to get in the Champions League, and the only way you can do that in Denmark is to win the league. I still think that the game on Sunday would be more important for us because it's against Copenhagen, and we can, if we win, we can go 4 points above Copenhagen in the league. So I think that maybe he will use him there. But the guy I'm talking about is Dario Osorio, who was linked with Bournemouth this summer. He's he's from Chile, and he. If you go to YouTube and search some of his goals, he only scores bangers. He only scores bangers. He has an incredible shot with his left foot. He's really, really good at that shots. Every time he comes close to the box with his left foot, you can always expect that he either scores or hit the targets because his shooting abilities is quite impressive. Who else do we have? We have a Dane. He's a Turkish international, but he's born and raised in Denmark, called Aral Simsia. He's an incredible dribbler. Like he's really, really tough to get to get the ball from, because it's like it stick to his foot, kind of like Messi. No comparison, but you know, just to get you the feel of how tough he is to get the ball from, because he's a little guy just like Messi. So he's but he's still quite physical. So he's tough to get the ball from. But and they are usually him, Aral Simsia, Francolino, and Osorio would be, if none of them were injured, our three strikers, our three offensive players. And then, of course, Billing, as you said, but our captain, Mads Bech Sørensen, has played some Premier League games for Brentford as well. So I think we do have a talented squad, but those 3 to 5 players I mentioned is the most important players of our squad.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that about the game on Sunday for yourselves being quite important. Me and my friends have been chatting amongst ourselves, the guys who do the podcast with, and we're all saying we really need a result on Sunday against Newcastle because our league form has been so poor since Nuno Espirito Santo's left and Postecoglou's come in, and we're saying, but then Thursday is important because he just needs to get a win. So it's kind of like, what team do we play? It's very up in the air, but luckily that we've got quite a lot of depth. So
we the same do we got a lot of depth. I think that Midtjylland and Copenhagen, if you compare their squads to other Danish clubs, their depth is incredible, and you can see they are the two best teams. But of course, it's nothing against the Premier League team. I know that, but so I'm really curious to see how our coach do it, because it's not that we are playing with 11 reserves on Thursday. I don't expect that. But of course, the game against Copenhagen is also very important. So I bet he would do some rotation. Like the guy Dario Osorio, who I mentioned before, hasn't played since he was injured. I bet that he wants to rest him for the game on Sunday rather than play him against you on Thursday, because we already have some players who have played the last couple of games. And of course, if we can go to Nottingham and get a result, it's quite big for us, because I don't think that we as a fan expect us to get points against Nottingham Forest. I mean, when we saw the teams we should face in this league phase, you know, as a fan, you always say, okay, we can get 3 points there, we can get 3 points there, maybe 1 point there. I think that we face you and we have Roma away. Those are the two games where I think most fans of Midtjylland expect us to get 0 points, to be honest. But of course, if we can pull something up, it would be amazing. And I'm not saying that we are major underdogs, but of course you should be the favorites. You play in the Premier League, but I expect Midtjylland to do a great effort against you, and let's see if it's enough to get 1 point. I actually said that I believe we could get 1 point because I saw your form, but that was like 3 weeks ago. I saw your form, and I saw that it's just beforehand when we faced some Premier League opponents, they have underestimated us. So it's kind of in our history to do better than people believe we can do.
Yeah, I'm hoping, because we're not in good form and we need a win, then I would expect us to take you very seriously, and the first game back in Nottingham for like I said, 29 years. How do you expect to line up, Ryan, in terms of formation, and what is Midtjylland's style? Does it differ from the Superliga to the Europa League or to European competition in general?
We recently changed coach. We had our coach who called Thomas Thomasberg. Danish names, I know it. He played actually in the club in 1999, right. And then ended his career in Midtjylland, became an assistant, and then became the head coach in 2008. But due to poor results, he got sacked. And then he spent some years in the Danish Superliga for different clubs. And then after some troubled years in the 22-23 season, when we for the first time missed out of, the Superliga is quite a
does it
weird
split,
league. Yeah, it's split. We play. There are 12 teams, so we play against each teams 2 times, home and away, and then it splits into the top 6 and the bottom 6. And the top 6 is for the championships and the Europa League places, and the bottom 6 is for avoid relegation. So actually, in that season, in 2022-23 season, we sacked, I think, 3 coaches and ended in the bottom 6. So we needed a new coach, and then we hired in Thomas Thomasberg again, because he had doing really good in Randers, and he valued he came. He was one of the first players who played in Midtjylland. He understood what Midtjylland is and how we wanted to play. So he took us from the relegation spot, and he took us into the 7th place. And for some strange reason in Denmark, if you end at number 7 in the bottom in the half 6, you play against number 4 and number 3 for a Europa spot for some strange reason. And it was against our local rivals from Viborg, and we won it 1-0. So we actually got into the qualifications of Conference League. We, for some strange reason, lost it to Liga Warszawa in the playoff and penalties. But then in his first full season, he made us champions. And then last season, we missed the championship by 1 point. And this start of the season was great, but we underperformed in some ways. And Midtjylland is a strange club because with him we hadn't lost matches in 18 games. We hadn't lost 18 matches in a row. But they sacked him because if you look at the data, and if you looked at expected goals and stuff, we were underperforming. So we needed a new coach. So we hired in a Danish guy who called Mike Tulberg, who came from Dortmund. He was a youth coach and under 23 coach in Dortmund. And his way of thinking and playing football is very, how can I say, Bundesliga. It's like Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. That's the way he wants to play. Yeah, like the Red Bull school and the high gegenpressing games. That's his way of doing it. But I think due that we had a lot of injuries on our players, he hasn't really. He's still struggling to see what kind of system he wants to play. So with his first games, we played and at plastic. And we don't like to play on plastic. So unfortunately, he lost his first games in charge against FC Nordsjælland 1-0, and we looked like the problem with Nordsjælland is when we play against them at their side, they look like prime Barcelona because they play they play tiki taka. They look like prime Barcelona, but when they came to us in our home ground, they look like the shittiest team ever. But for some, it's like Bodø. They are pretty good at plastic. So he lost that game. And as a fan, you can see why you know that it's a tough game. Why doesn't he change the formation? Why doesn't he play with a center back or three? But as he said, I'm a new coach. They choose me because of my way of playing football, my way of seeing football. So I can't make a formation just because it's this opponent. And then the next game he plays was a cup game, and he changed the formation to three center backs, and he used that against Sturm Graz, against Viborg, and yesterday against Randers. So I will expect us to play with three center backs and then three midfielders and three attackers. And if it's wingers or back, I don't know. He likes to have a little. He likes to do a little magic with the starting 11. But our way of I think that our way of playing is high pressure, and then we like to be in control, not control the ball, but be in control, that we are really good, organized defensively, and then offensively we are really good at the counters. I would say that's the way of playing. But he's a new coach, and we had a lot of games since I think he's played already 5 or 6 games, and his first day at the office was the 1st of September, and we also had an international break. So it's still early to see what his idea is and how he's going to play, because they rarely train, because we play matches every 3 or 4 days. But I think that one of those things he really have success in is that we look like a solid team defensively. With our former coach Thomas Thomasberg, we were conceding way too many goals. We played 3-3 against the 2 promoted teams in the Superliga, 3-3 against 2 promoted teams, which we should have won 3 or 4-0. But because we look so shitty defensively. But I think that's what he has really done. We look really, really, really good defensively now, and then we will wait to see how we will play offensively. Because of course, when we had 2 wingers out for injury, and we only have 3 wingers in our squad, so we are still waiting to see the output of it offensively. But let's see how he wants to do it against you guys. He said to me, I'm pretty often out to see training in Denmark. It's you can come out. It's open training, and you can see the training, and you can actually talk to the players and to the staff. I don't know why we have it in Denmark, but I think that it's just something we have done forever. So when a guy like we have Kevin Mbabu, the former player of Fulham and Newcastle, so when he came to Denmark, he was like, "Oh, that's really nice." And some players are used to playing in Premier League and doesn't want to speak to anybody, but it's how we do it in Denmark. So I talked to him about how against Nottingham Forest and Roma, can you play the way you want to play, because you can expect to be the dominant team as you are in Denmark. And he said, I don't care about the size of the team. I want to play this way, no matter who we face. But of course, we can play the ultimate way every time, but we will do it with changes so that we can also be very good defensively. So it's not that we have a style of play in Europe. We still want to do it the same way. But I think against your team away, we can expect us to be the dominant team.
Okay, well, we'll see on Thursday night. It'll be interesting. Postecoglou, we've not. I think only against Betis we gave up more possession. So I'll be intrigued. And like you say, it's similar situation, because we had an international break. Postecoglou's come in. He's had 5 games, maybe 6 now. I can't remember now. It's all a blur. It's happening so fast, and we've still not won a game of football. And we've played 2 promoted sides in Burnley and Sunderland, and only got 1 point, and that was away at Burnley. Lost at the weekend to Sunderland in a game that arguably we should have won it or drawn at least. So interesting. What's your Europa League prediction, Ryan, for Midtjylland? Do you expect to get to the knockout phase of the competition?
Last year we made it into we ranked number 20 in the league phase.
In the playoff phase you got to then.
So we got to the playoff phase and faced Real Sociedad, and actually at home I think we were very, very good, but we lost 2-1 because they were a class team, and sometimes better teams needs a little few opportunities to make it 2-1. And then we lost, I think, was it 6-3 or 6-2 in San Sebastian. But sometimes you just know that, okay, it's against Real Sociedad. We should not only have 1 lucky day, we should have 2 lucky days to beat them. But I think this year, with the draw and the team we are facing, I think that our expectations is a little bit higher, because last year we faced a lot of Bundesliga teams, but also teams that on paper were a little bit better than us. This year, I think that despite against you guys and despite against Roma, maybe against Celtic also, we have pretty equal matchups if you look at it, or we are favorites. And many of the games where we are favorites or equal, we are at home, and we are pretty good home team. So I think in our podcast, I said that I would expect between 11 to 14 points, which should be enough to make it into going through the league phase, and I expect us to be in the playoff. But I think our coach and our whole direction want us to make us to at least a round of 16, if that's possible.
Yeah.
But it's because if you look at the Europa League this year, I mean, last year, of course, you had Tottenham and Manchester United, who were major favorites. But I think if you look at the teams this year, it's hard to pick a favorite. I would say Aston Villa, because they have Unai Emery, who has won the competition 4 times.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of a Danish way that if you see that as a Premier League team in a European competition, you always expect them to do well. So I think my favorites is you guys or Aston Villa. But if we have a good draw, we can make it into the quarterfinal. But I expect it to at least go through to the playoffs stages. Okay. Yes,
bro, cool.
Yeah.
And then lastly, Ryan, what's your score prediction for Thursday?
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if you know it, but Arns Postecoglou has faced Midtjylland before.
Right.
When he was
Celtic
he was
manager,
a
I assume.
Celtic manager, and the first game ended 1-1 at the Celtic Park,
Okay.
and we won at home. So he doesn't have the best experience with facing Midtjylland. But
Thank you for that.
As you already said, we have Philip Billing who scores bangers against you.
Yeah.
But I predicted 1-1 in our podcast, so I think I'm gonna stick to that.
Okay. Just for audio listeners, I've been smiling throughout that because it just kind of we all know what we're thinking. It's Forest, and it's just typical Philip Billing playing in black and red, and it's just all coming back to haunt us. But no, Ryan, thank you very much for joining us. It's been great insight to get to know your club. If people want to listen to, I know it's going to be in Danish, I assume, the podcast from your side of things. So it's going to be difficult for people to listen to that. I know you've got a Danish Forest supporter coming on, haven't you?
We had in our last we have he's called Henrik.
I think we know of him on Twitter.
He's been a Forest fan for ages. It was really good to get insight for it in Danish. As I said, there are many Danish football fans who has a Danish team and then an international team. Me, for example, I like Midtjylland and I like Barcelona. That's pretty common in Denmark. And then some also have a third team of the Premier League, because Premier League is so massively regarded in Denmark, and we have a lot of Danish internationals who plays in the Premier League. So it's pretty common for us to know. I think that most Danish people know more about Nottingham Forest than Nottingham Forest fans knows about Midtjylland.
Fair enough. That's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
I think.
But we have a podcast called translated into English. It doesn't sound very polite, but it's called Black Talk. I think you can translate. That's because we play in black.
Yes.
And the way of saying it in Danish, when you say, "Oh, you're talking black right now," it's like if you're talking nonsense, or like, so it's kind of a Danish way of saying it in Denmark. So that's the name. I wasn't the guy who made up the name. I think I would have called it something with wolf, because as you can see in our logo, we have a wolf in our logo, because wolves are historically in our part of Denmark and has come back again after so many years. But so I don't know why it's called that, but it's called that. But it makes sense in Danish. Yeah.
Fair enough. No, I really appreciate you being able to come on, Ryan. And if anyone's enjoyed it, do drop us a like and a subscribe. Consider membership for future podcasts. But until next time, we'll hopefully we'll get another preview out before then.
And
are you coming over for the game, Ryan, or have you got people traveling over? It's a bit of an awkward one, isn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can make it, but I really consider it because it's really cheap for Danish people to go to London. So we considered going to London and then taking the train or buses to Nottingham. But I expect us to be a lot of Danish fans traveling away to Nottingham, because we said when we were in the Europa League last year, we said we missed that big match when we have a good away team and when a big club is coming. And I think we consider you guys as a Premier League team as a really good opportunity to travel away, because it's very easy for us to come to England, and very cheap for Danish people to fly to London or to Manchester. In general, a lot of Danish people are really going to see the Premier League. So I think there will be a lot of Danish fans. So if any Nottingham fan sees them, go and say hi, offer them a beer. Danish people like beer just as much as British people.
I don't know if you've managed to read. So Tom Head, who comes on the podcast every now and then, he wrote, and he's on Instagram, Ryan. He's known as the Nottingham Pint Guide. So he knows what he's talking about when he's talking about where to go to drink any beers. So and I'm sure fans will be welcome in.
Yeah, and we are really humble people, very respectful, and so I bet we don't do any stupid things. I hope we are very solid people. So just come say hi, and we always like to chat about football, and maybe you guys can learn much more about Danish football and Danish players and stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, the Midtjylland actually doesn't have so much Danish players because we are an international team, kind of like Nottingham Forest in some ways, maybe. So we doesn't have that many Danish players on our team, but those we have are really, really good, and it is always in the talk of going into the Danish national teams. So yeah, but yeah, if you meet some Danish fans, say hello to them. We are kind people. We don't bite.
Bro, no, I'm sure people will mingle and make friends off the pitch before being rivals on it, I guess. But Ryan, no, thank you very much for joining us. Until next time, everyone, come on, you Reds.